I'm Ed Soph, and I'm here to talk to you, show you some things about stick technique, which I'm going to show you on the snare drum, but which have applications to drum set playing as well. A cruel reality of drumming is that you play the drum set as well as you play the snare drum. And if you have minimal control of dynamics, tempos, stickings, accent technique, etc. on the snare, that's just going to be magnified on the drum set when you have to make all these different parts of the kit sound like one instrument. So keep in mind the basic concepts that I'm going to talk about here are things that you want to listen for and be aware of when you play the drum set in any style. Okay, so I'm going to show you some things about technique, and I can remember when I was a youngster and people would talk to me about technique, and I always assumed that what they were saying was that this is the way to hold the stick. And I discovered, as maybe some of you already have, that through playing experience, different aspects of improvisation, difference between playing in a rock group or a jazz group or a big band or a piano trio or whatever, that technique takes many forms. And that there is no one way of holding the sticks or one way of hitting a drum or a cymbal. So what I'm going to show you today is something that I use with my students as a foundation on which to do their own thing. And what we're going to talk about here is we're going to think about technique as being like handwriting. Now you're thinking, what the heck is this guy talking about? Well, what I'm talking about is that when we were taught to write, we were all taught the same letter forms. We were all told to make our A's and B's and C's the same way. But now, each one of us has developed our own hand, our own style of handwriting. We don't all write the same. Hopefully, what we write is legible, but it's not the same as Joe Blow's over there, or Freddie's over there, or so-and-so's over there. And that's the same approach I take with technique. We start with fundamentals, and from there, you devise your own hand, as it were, to address the musical challenges that you find in playing your music. All right? So, bear with me here. This is probably something you've heard a million times, but you maybe haven't heard it presented this way. So I hope it turns some lights on up there. We'll start with grips before we even start about sticking types or sticking techniques. And what I teach is a grip that is built around the natural shape of the hand. I call it a neutral grip. And by this I mean when my hand, and you should do this, check yourself out, you'd be amazed at how many guys don't know what their hands, or gals don't know what their hands look like when they're holding a stick. But if you drop your hand down, either hand, to your side and raise it up, you'll notice that your hands are like this. They're not like that. But I'll wager with some of you that when you pick up a stick, that's how you're holding it, because you've been taught to control the stick. And you've assumed that control comes through degrees of tightness. All right? But what we're going to talk about is a foundational technique that teaches control through degrees of looseness. This is nothing new. It's the way piano's played. It's played, any instrument is played. The idea that the body and the muscles are receptive to whatever signals that brain sends. It's what a tennis player does. It's good athletes, the same idea. The body develops tension and release. A grip built around this sort of thing just generates more tension. But I don't want to get off on a tangent here. So, the idea is to hold the sticks initially, and for what I'm going to show you in the way of exercises in subsequent segments here, if you play match grip and use German, the idea is that you should keep this open space. The fulcrum falls not in the second joint, which closes up that space, and more or less welds the stick into the hand, but this way the stick is suspended in the hand, in the same way that a bow is suspended in the hand when somebody plays a violin. They don't play the violin like that, they play it like this. So the idea is, step number one is to get used to playing with this neutral fulcrum. And the exercise that you can use for this, if you're playing match grip, is this. Simply starting stick with full extension of the fingers. Believe me, the first time you try this, you're going to drop sticks. Don't worry about it, you'll get it. and to play. Simple. They look simple, but if you've never done it before, it's going to be new, so it's going to be a challenge. Rebounded strokes, maximum rebounded strokes. Not like this, but like this. To where you hold the stick as loosely as you can. That's your first exercise, is to get comfortable with that. Let me do it with traditional grip. For you traditional players, hopefully you all play both grips. The more technique you have like that, better prepared you are. Somebody might say, oh look, his fingers are coming off of his left stick. So what? Hear the sound change? As soon as I tighten up, I've lost my sound. There's the sound. If it makes that pad resonate, the drummer will resonate too. So I'm going to leave you with this. Rebound stroke exercise number 1. Getting the feeling of that stick being kicked back up. One last thing, it's not this. Many of you will initially do this because for some reason you have been taught to keep the stick down. That's not wrong. It's just not what we want to do with this technique. We want to learn to play with full rebound, because when we really study control, control comes from learning to control the rebound. If you don't have anything to control, you'll never know what control is. That's why if this is the only way you can play, you've only seen half the side of control. So, happy rebounding. Segment 2, we'll continue with this. Thanks. Bye-bye.